So question number 100. Consider the following statement about the working of septic tanks. So first of all, what are septic tanks? So those households which do not have direct connection with the traditional drainage system. What we can do, that their sewage will first go into the septic tanks, which is actually a watertight compartment, and then it will go further from the septic tank to either for the treatment or for the spreading. So this is about the septic tank. So you would have seen this outside on the roads or in the societies, that this is the house. From here the drainage system comes to these septic tanks, and then it will be treated here, and then the output will come. This you can see here, there is a household. From there is a flush. So the sewage from there come first to the septic tank, and then once it is in the septic tank, it is being treated, and then it goes outside. You can see here, this is the septic tank. There's an inlet from where the sewage will come into the septic tank. It will be divided into the sludge, effluent, and the scum. The part that will be settled down will be known as the sludge. Then there will be effluent, and the part that's suspended, that will be the floating over the surface, will be known as the scum. Then we have a part where there will be air compartment, and then there is an outlet. You can see there are two compartments in this septic tank. Now coming to the septic tank, so you can see there is a septic tank. There's an inlet, there's an outlet, there is just one compartment here. There's a manhole here, there's an air which is 1 foot, then there's liquid which is of 4 foot, and there's a sludge. So reading about it, septic tank. So septic tank is a watertight masonry tank into which household sewage is admitted for the treatment. It is satisfactory mean for disposing excreta and liquid waste from individual dwellings, small group of houses, institutions which have adequate water supply but do not have access to the public sewerage system. So they do not have the access to public sewerage system. So that's why we will make the septic tank. So septic tanks can have various designs. They can be single chambered, they can be two chambered, as we have seen in the previous example that there are two chambers here, while in this case there is only one chamber. So it can be one chamber, two chamber, even it can be more than two chambers. But it has been found out that those with more than two chambers do not have much of added advantages. So that's why we will go for only one chamber or the two chambers. Then the capacity. So the capacity of the septic tank will depend on the number of users. Its capacity is about 20 to 30 gallons or 2.5 to 5 CFit per person is recommended. And the minimum capacity of septic tank should be at least 500 gallons. Plus, septic tanks are not recommended for the large communities. You have to remember that septic tank is for the smaller communities, not for the large community. So coming to option number 1, which is asking about this only, that the first thing is, if we remove all this, that septic tank, they are recommended for the large communities rather than the small. This is wrong. This is for actually small communities, not for the large communities. So that's why first option will be wrong. Now reading further, it is saying that the length, what should be the length? He's saying that length should be around twice that of the breadth. Then about the depth should be 1.5 to 2 meter. Liquid depth, the recommended liquid depth is only 1.2 meter. Then airspace, there should be a minimum airspace of 30 centimeter between the level of liquid in the tank and the under surface of the coil. So there must be a minimum airspace of 30 centimeter. So coming to option number 2. Option number 2 is saying that there should be no airspace between the level of liquid in the tank and the under surface of the cover. This is again wrong. There must be at least 30 centimeter of air space. That's why second is wrong. Now reading further, so it is saying that at the bottom, in some septic, the bottom is sloping toward the inlet end. This facilitates retention of the solids. Then we have the inlet and outlet. There's an inlet and outlet pipe which are submerged. Then we have the cover. The septic tank is covered by concrete slab of suitable thickness and provided with a manhole. The retention period, it should have at least retention of 24 hours. Too long retention period will result in undue septicity of the effluent, where too short a period gives insufficient treatment. So working, what will be there be working? So those part which will be settling down will be known as the sludge. The one which will be floating will be known as the scum, which is the greasy part. now there will be anaerobic digestion by the bacteria and fungus, and it will be having the anaerobic digestion. So now the liquid which passes out the outlet pipe from time to time is known as the effluent. What will effluent contain? It will contain numerous bacteria, cyst, helminthic ova, organic matter in the solution or the fine suspension. So this is what is asked in the third option. So the third option is asking that liquid effluent from the outlet pipe is free from all pathogens. So this is wrong. It has cyst, helminths, ova, etc. Bacteria, fungus, everything it is having. That's why third is wrong. So all the options are wrong. So none of the statement are correct. So the option will be A. None of the statement are correct. So what we have learned about it? There should be a septic tank which is having an inflow from where the sewage from the household is coming or the small community. Then there will be outflow. Here there will be air space of at least 30 centimeters. Then there will be water. In the water, the one which will be floating will be there. Then will be sludge here. So sludge will be there. The floating water will be scum, and there will be water. And then from there, from the outflow, the liquid will come, the water will come, and it will be having the helminths, the parasites, the ova, their egg, etc. Now coming to the next question. Which of the following amino acids which is categorized as a non-essential amino acids? So as to know which are non-essentials, we must know what are the essentials. And for the essentials, we have the universal mnemonic of amino acids is private, Tim, Hall, where P stands for phenylalanine, V for valine, T for threonine, then another T for tryptophan, then I for isoleucine, M for methionine, H for histidine, A for arginine, L for leucine, and then another L for lysine. But one thing you have to remember, that P in the private, the first word P stands for the phenylalanine, but not for proline. So proline is not essential amino acid. It is the phenylalanine which is the essential amino acid. So the D option will be correct. This is non-essential amino acid. But if in that case phenylalanine would have been there, that was an essential amino acid. Leucine, the first option leucine. So we know leucine is So the leucine is essential amino acid. Then threonine is essential amino acid. Then tryptophan is essential amino acid. So 101 answer will be proline. Proline is a non-essential amino acid. Now coming to 102nd question. Consider the following milk. So they are asking for the sequences. So consider the following milk. Consider the following milk: buffalo milk, cow milk, goat milk, and human milk. The question is, what is the correct order from highest to lowest, means in decreasing order, with regard to the fat content per 100 grams in the milk. So we have to find out that we have 4 milks: buffalo milk, cow milk, goat milk, and human milk. Which one of them is having high percentage of fat? Okay, so this has been taken from the Parkes table. So we must know certain things, like the first thing is fat. So for the fat, we can see the highest fat is in the buffalo milk. So buffalo milk, then goat milk 4.5, then cow's milk 4.1, and then human milk. So this is the sequence: buffalo milk, goat milk, cow milk, and then the human milk. So the option will be buffalo milk, then goat milk, then cow milk, and the human milk. So 1, 3, 2, and 4. 1, 3, 2, and 4. So D will be the correct option. First will be the buffalo milk, then goat milk, then cow milk, then human milk. But they can ask you other as well. So remember, for after fat, we can go for protein. So protein is highest in the case of the buffalo milk. So again, buffalo milk, then in the goat milk, then in the cow milk, then in the human milk. So the sequence is same. So for the fat, buffalo, goat, cow, human, the sequence is same for the protein: buffalo, goat, cow, and human milk. Then going for the calcium content. For the calcium, it is again highest in the buffalo milk, then in the goat milk, then in the cow milk, then in the human milk. Now the sequence is same. So fat, protein, and calcium sequence will be same. Going for the energy, again buffalo milk, then we have the goat milk, then we have the cow milk, and then we have the human milk. So in the exam, if they are asking you anything, either fat, protein, calcium, or energy, the answer will be same. That's the first the buffalo milk, then the goat milk, then the cow milk, and then the human milk. Now coming to other question. Which of the following are unsaturated fatty acids? So which of them are unsaturated fatty acid? One is lauric acid. So lauric acid is saturated fatty acid. Saturated fatty acid. Then linoleic acid. Linoleic acid is unsaturated fatty acid. Unsaturated fatty acid. Then we have the oleic acid. Oleic acid is again unsaturated fatty acid. Then you have the palmitic acid. Palmitic acid is saturated fatty acid. So answer will be 2. So 104th question. In India, the most widely prevalent stage of iron deficiency is. So they are asking about the stage of iron deficiency, that which stage of iron deficiency is most prevalent in India. So first of all, what are the stages of iron deficiency? So iron deficiency stages. So there are 3 stages of iron deficiency. In the first stage, the iron stores will decrease, but there will be no abnormality detected. You go for any lab test, you are not going to find any abnormality detected. In the second stage, iron stores will not just be decreased, but they will be exhausted. So iron stores will be exhausted. And in this, the transferrin percentage saturation, which is normally about more than 30%, will come down to less than 15%. So this is the stage which will be detected by transferrin percentage saturation, and this is the stage which is most widely prevalent in India. Most widely prevalent in iron deficiency in India. This is the second stage. Now coming to third stage. In third stage, the iron stores in the body will go to such an extent that hemoglobin synthesis will not take place, and so hemoglobin will be decreased. So this is the third stage. Now coming to option. So option number 1 is decreased iron stores without any other detectable abnormality. So this is stage 1, but this is not the most widely prevalent one. Second is fall in percentage saturation of transfer. This is correct. This is stage 2, and this is correct. Then overt iron deficiency with impaired hemoglobin synthesis. This is stage 3, and this is not most widely prevalent. Decrease in concentration of circulating hemoglobin. Again, this is stage 3, and this is not most common. So most common is fall in percentage saturation of transferrin, which is the stage 2. Now coming to 105. Consider the following statement. Waist circumference and waist to hip ratio are more powerful predictors of subsequent risk of the type 2 diabetes mellitus than the body mass index. So this is correct. But what is waist circumference? Waist circumference is measured when you take the margin, the lower margin of rib cage, and then here you take the iliac crest. At the midpoint of the line joining it, you go for the waist circumference. So you go for waist circumference, and the waist hip ratio, you go there. And what you measure through this? You measure through it the central obesity. What you measure through BMI? So BMI is a simple index of weight in kg and then height square in meter square. So you are just comparing weight through height. What is the problem with this? The first thing is that it's not going to give you the fat only. For example, like a patient, when you are going to gym, your muscular mass is increasing, but you are not having the fat mass which is increasing, but still BMI will become higher, and you can come in the category of obesity, but that's the only muscular mass which is healthy. Now coming to second, it is just going to say that this is obesity. It's not going to tell that it is central obesity, which is more harmful than it's the subcutaneous fat or other obesity. So this is the problem with BMI. That's why waist circumference and waist to hip ratio are more powerful predictors of subsequent type 2 diabetes mellitus. Then statement 2 is central obesity is an important determinant of insulin resistance, the undergoing abnormality in the most type of diabetes. So type 2 diabetes mellitus because of the insulin resistance, and the central obesity is an important determinant. This is correct. So both are correct and both are explaining each other. So answer will be A. Now the question is that why is it central obesity which is more important? The thing is that you have to understand that compared with the subcutaneous adipose tissue, intra-abdominal adipose tissue has more cells per unit mass. So they have more cells per unit mass. Second, they have higher blood flow. Third is they have more cortisol receptors. Fourth, they have more androgen receptors. And there are also greater catecholamine induced lipolysis, increased catecholamine induced lipolysis. Furthermore, the intra-abdominal adipocytes are located upstream from the liver in the portal circulation. This means there is a marked increase in the flux of non-esterified fatty acids to the liver via portal blood in the patients with abdominal obesity. So these are the reasons that why the central fat is more important for determination of insulin resistance. Now coming to the other. 106. Consider the following statement. The people should seek to preserve their traditional eating pattern and lifestyle associated with low level of CHT. What level of prevention is implied in this statement? Primordial, high risk, primary or secondary? The thing is, this is primordial. Why? The primordial is associated with decreasing the risk factor. And this question is talking about decreasing the risk factor. High risk is not the level of prevention. Primary is it decreases the disease. So risk factors may be present, but it's trying to decrease the disease. Secondary is to the disease is present. So disease is present, but in early stage. And you do not want it to progress to later stage. Now, there is also tertiary prevention, tertiary level of prevention. Tertiary is the disease has progressed to later stage, but you want to decrease the disability. Two more things you have to remember. The primary prevention is to decrease the disease. That's why primary level of prevention will decrease incidence. And the secondary level of prevention is to decrease the later stage. The disease should not go to later stage, but it get finished on the early stage only. It get resolved on the early stage only. That's why secondary prevention is for to decrease the prevalence. So that you have to remember that the primary prevention is to decrease incidence. Secondary prevention is for decreasing the prevalence. And when you try to decrease the risk factor, you go for the primordial. Primary, like for decreasing disease, the immunization. Immunization is the primary level of prevention. Asking people, educating people to eat healthy, to preserve the traditional eating pattern, it's the primordial risk factor. So answer will be A, the primordial one. Then the question is 107. Raju is 30 years of age. He has been working in the ceramic and pottery industry for the last 10 years. Which of the following conditions should he be? So they are asking for occupational disease. So ceramic and pottery industry will have the silica dust, and so it will lead to silicosis. So answer will be silicosis. Anthracosis will be in the case of the coal industry, coal dust. Biocenosis is because of the cotton dust. Asbestosis because of the asbestos industry. So occupational disease because of dust will be known as the pneumoconiosis. Coal dust lead to anthracosis, silicosis, asbestosis, iron, siderosis. Cane fiber, in the sugar cane industry, it can lead to bagasosis. In the cotton dust, it leads to biocenosis. Tobacco leads to tobaccosis. Here, grain dust lead to farmers. So here the answer will be the silicosis. Coming to 108. An industrial worker was brought to medical facility due to health problem. So they ask for industrial worker, that's why it can be occupational disease. On his workup, including laboratory tests, a finding of basophil stippling of RBC was observed. Which among the following is he or she likely to be having? So basophil stippling in the pathology is typical for the lead poisoning. So it will be the lead poisoning. So answer will be lead poisoning. Now, coming to 109. You have to match the genetic disease which is showing the Mendelian inheritance with the pattern of inheritance they are showing. So cystic fibrosis is autosomal recessive. Yes, this is correct. Cystic fibrosis is autosomal recessive. Huntington's chorea is autosomal dominant. Yes, this is correct. Marfan syndrome is recessive sex linked. No, Marfan syndrome is again autosomal dominant. So it is autosomal dominant. So 1 and 2 are correct. So only 2 of the pairs are correct. So Marfan syndrome is autosomal dominant. So cystic fibrosis is your autosomal recessive. Huntington's chorea is your autosomal dominant, and Marfan syndrome is your autosomal dominant, not the X-linked recessive.